Hey guys, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of The Complete Woman. If this is your first time joining us, The Complete Woman is a women's ministry where we are empowering women physically and spiritually to the glory of God. We have 5 arms: emotional maturity, spiritual maturity, mental wholeness, as well as physical elegance and financial freedom. But we just started this ministry and we're starting with the first pillar, the first foundation, which is emotional maturity, which is titled The Will of God for Your Heartbreak. Every woman has gone through one heartbreak or the other, from the home front, society, as well as intimate relationships that have shaped her mind to give her limited mindset that has tampered with the quality of life she has been having. So in The Complete Woman, we're hoping to work on all those foundations and build a lasting, beautiful life for her. And that is what the emotional maturity part is about. And last week we handled um, emotional trauma, what emotional traumas are, how they stem from emotions. If this is your first time seeing my face, I would advise you go start from the beginning of this playlist, this The Will of God for Your Heartbreak playlist, so that you can come up to this point to see what we've been doing, because each video flows into itself. And today, like I promised you guys, I'm here to talk about emotional wounds. We've seen emotional trauma, right? And we are here to talk about emotional wounds. So emotional wounds are gotten from emotional trauma. I'm going to get a befitting definition and place it on the screen for you. But basically, I prefer to explain right now. As always, my notes are here. I have a big note for The Complete Woman and everything. So if you see me looking down, I'm checking my notes so I know the flow of what I've written and I'm not missing anything else. So we looked at emotional trauma last week. Emotional wounds are gotten from emotional trauma. So let's say emotional trauma is the foundation for emotional wounds. And why did they come about? Whenever anybody is exposed to emotional trauma, there come a thinking pattern that the brain goes through it, the cognitive appraiser appraise it with the emotions and come up with a behavioral pattern and a limiting belief and behavior and emotions it attach that event to, and teaches the person distorted way to react when they are triggered by that thing. And this is the metamorphosis of emotional trauma becomes a wound. And that wound self is a play of multiple emotional traumas. Sometimes we saw all the types of emotional traumas in the last video. Like I said, if this you are just coming across us, I really advise you to go fill yourself on the videos beginning from this playlist. So now, in the last video, we saw um 6 different types of emotional trauma. We spoke about childhood neglect and abandonment. We spoke about emotional and physical abuse. We spoke about rejection, loss and grief, bullying, betrayal, sexual trauma, and witnessing trauma. And like I said, the list are unendless. If you want to go into traumas, they are finding out new ones every day. But I highlighted these ones because I've noticed these are the core ones I've always been seeing with people. Very, very popular ones. People are relatable to this. So now let's talk about wounds, the resulting wounds, because this is emotional wounds that we are talking about. So now we have, I've highlighted 8 types of resulting wounds from emotional trauma, but some wounds can, they interplay into each other. Some wounds can even start within people, and it's a play of different other emotional trauma that gave birth to something new. So like I highlighted 8 wounds here, meanwhile we have 6 emotional trauma. I don't know if I make sense. So let's start. People who let's pick childhood neglect and abandonment. If an adult went through childhood neglect and abandonment, now again, I'm not explaining emotional trauma, because if you want to know what these things look like, feel yourself on the last video. Thank you. But we have spoken about, if you an adult who went through childhood neglect and abandonment, and roughly this is where parents were not around. They are busy, and it's other people or caregivers that were there, and some cases where the parents are around but they did not prioritize the child. We saw everything together. So whether a male child or a female child went through childhood neglect and abandonment, and we saw that you can neglect them physically, neglect them emotionally. A parent can be there providing all the physical things, but the children are being neglected emotionally, or you neglect them psychologically with no guidance. They become, something else. Now, the resulting wounds when this child grows up, a child that has gone through childhood neglect and abandonment, emotional trauma, when the child grows into an adult, the resulting wound is fear of abandonment. Fear of abandonment. All right? Fear of abandonment. So you even see some people. I was listening to a video on Femi Lazarus, and he was explaining how when they grow into adult, you see people in relationship and they don't know how to connect intimately because they are numb. If their partner stand up tomorrow and say, I'm tired of this relationship, I'm working out on you, they will not shed a tear because their mind was not even there in the beginning. When they are in relationship and people are showing them so much love, they become numb to it, and they'll be like, why is this one calling me? Why are you showing so much love? They'll feel there's an ulterior motive because they are not used to that kind of thing. They understand, they feel everybody will live at a time. They are self-reliant, very self-reliant. They are very avoidant in things and all of that. And in the comment section, many people were like, my dad was present, my mom was present, but I still feel this way with people I don't connect. I've never had any reason to have that butterfly or that emotional connection, because they don't understand that your mother and your father could actually be present. These are parents that just believe in physical, providing the physical needs of a child and probably the psychology, but they were never there emotionally, even though they were there in person. They The emotional um development of a child is built by the parents or the caregivers around. When like I said, that child comes to you, they are crying, don't shut them up. When they come, they are happy, teach them emotions, because you have to teach the children. When the parents have a form of neglect, they neglect the emotional developing part of a child, because parents are busy thinking all that there is to care about a child is the physical need or anything. Then you are causing problems. When they are crying, you shut them up. If it's a male child, you tell them men don't feel emotions, they should shut up, they should big boy up. And parents just like lazy parenting, where they just want to smack and say shut up, let them focus on the next thing. But let your children show emotions. If, for example, she got first in class or he got one, and I say, are you happy? Yeah. Teach them all those things. Do you want to give mommy hugs, cuddles? Develop their emotional part. When you don't, you neglect them. So every child needs physical attention, emotional attention, and psychological attention. That's the work you have to do. It's not only physical needs. It's not only physical needs you provide for them. So these children grow up with the fear of abandonment, and some of them don't know their problem because they feel the parents were around. Your parents they were around here, but they neglected the emotional development part of you. So they grow up to have the fear of abandonment, that everybody will leave, or they should be self-sufficient for that emotional needs they get. You can't depend on anybody. Nobody can show it to you, and all of that. They don't understand that that is emotional trauma. If this sounds like you, behavioral patterns you will see is two, avoidance. Some will avoid it. Some will avoid it so much. You see the way emotional trauma is very complex, and human behavioral pattern and things. You will see some said that respond to this same thing I'm talking to you about with avoidance. Avoidance is when all the best, they don't feel that that emotional numbness is gone, especially when they were neglected emotionally. Then you will see another set here that will result to people pleasing. This is maladaptive coping mechanism. People pleasing because they are trying to get that their father that was absent or their mother that was absent in love relationship. When they become adults and somebody they're in a relationship, they want to over please, they put the other partner's needs above their own, like people pleasing. people pleasing. And even their friend group, if they have the slightest attention, they want to please. They want to please. People pleasing, do go, even though it's bringing to their own detriment, they want to people please because they have the fear that this person should not leave them at the end of it. This is something they've want, their inner child is crying for, they've wanted, so they would people please. They would people please, and this type of people sadly are taken for granted easily, because the way the human psychology in the world works is that when something is too accessible and too easy, people take it for granted. And there, with people pleasers, you find that they go through breakup a lot. They cry, and usually they are always having the anxious attachment style. Anxious attachment style, we'll get into that one, but an anxious attachment style in a relationship is somebody that, they're always anxious. They want you to be always calling them. If you are quiet about them, they feel they've done something wrong. They're always asking. If you have not called, they just feel you are rejecting them. You're trying to run away and all of that, you know and all of that. Then you have another human being that react to all this trauma. You see how complex trauma is. With avoidance, they'll be like, okay, if you avoid people, don't let people in your circle, and you're self-reliant, all the best, nobody's going to help me like that. I'm me. I have time for, I got me. Do you get? Well, you don't literally get in life and be alone, because everybody leave them, and God did not create us to be alone. And they'll find out, oh, I like to be alone. All the best. God did not create us to be alone. So they'll live a very miserable life when they are old. That's not your portion. Hmm. The second one is emotional and physical abuse. Abuse. The other one I spoke about again is neglect, childhood neglect and abandonment. Now, no, the second emotional trauma we are dealing with is emotional and physical abuse. And the resulting wounds from this is rejection and sensitivity. Okay. And the coping mechanism is codependency. Now, emotional and physical abuse could be in childhood, and it can also occur in someone's adult life. As children, some parents are very emotionally abusive. Very emotionally abusive. Example is using words. So you see how very fat your body shaming your children. You're fat, or you don't do anything right. When they come with bad grades, you talk down on them, how they are daft, or compare them with that other child you have that is very, very, very intelligent. You keep talking down on them. You're a goat. You use insultive words. That's emotional abuse. That's emotional abuse. And physical abuse, you can tell, some go as far as hitting, slapping for those distance. It's causing damage to the child's brain. It's being registered as emotional trauma, because the more you do it over and over again, then the brain registers it, and the resulting wounds that come from that behavior is rejection and sensitivity. Now, this person grows, let's say it's a child, the child grows into an adult thinking, wow, with that wound and that memory that, okay, they've been rejected. The brain sees as being not good enough. Rejection means you are not good enough. I have this expectation, you are not meeting it. You are not good enough. As a parent and my child, you are not good enough academically, you are not good enough physically, you are not good enough. I'm not proud to have you as a child. Sometimes, some parents, it's not even directly, but be careful with your words, because that's what their brain is taking it. The brain will not speak it verbatim, rejection, but it's like, you are not good enough. That is it. So the resulting wound that after it has that trauma has metamorphosized is rejection sensitivity. So now, what does this mean is, wherever they feel that child feels rejected, even career wise, it triggers them. Or even arguing with friends, maybe they're just arguing about something, and the friend is like, normally arguing can be really a beautiful thing. We have different opinions. Your opinion is this, and we are just arguing, and I'm saying, no, this way I don't. Instead of them to understand that arguing can be, debate can be beautiful, we are just bringing in opinions, they will view that as you rejecting them, their opinion. That's it. And you see some of people very, very violent and angry during argumentative this thing. Anything that makes them feel like they are being rejected, even when that's not the case, they would react really badly. Really badly. And again, like I tell you, human behavior is very, 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 very complex. Some people, their reaction and their behavior is to withdraw. And you'll be like, what did I do? What did I do? You don't even know what you did. You touched a wound. It's not about the thing you people were arguing about, but their brain was like, you are not good enough. This They are seeing that their emotional abusive father and their mother in you. People grow up, and when they have businesses, they feel the business or what they are doing, they can't remove it as an entity away from themselves. They see it as their identity. So when you criticize, even though it's a good positive criticism, they see it as you are affecting attacking their person. They see it as you saying you are not good enough. It attacks their self-esteem. Yeah, it remembers those wounds. You see, that's why you see people with rejection wound and sensitivity react to overreact to things. Some can be very verbally abusive to you or even want to fight, and some will just withdraw away from you because this person have emotional and physical abuse wound. Then imagine those with physical abuse now, for example, that beating and everything. They'll be cowards. I want to shy away. Some may grow to want to be like, oh more, I am the lion to protect myself. Now if you try me, they view everything as attack and they are ready to come for you. You are just but this thing is small. What? More, you touched a wound. And you see people overreacting for something. You trigger the wound. It's not about that thing that happened, and most likely that person is behaving from a rejection wound and sensitivity. Now adults can also face this emotional and physical abuse when they've entered into adulthood, and you see this very well with intimate relationship girls. And do you know the funny thing? Are you saying this? Do you know, I found out a girl child, for example, that had childhood neglect and abandonment. I told you she grows up to with the fear of abandonment and may likely people please. She enter into relationship people pleasing. And I told you the way the world is and is wicked, yeah, they will, even the most goodest person to an extent, if you are always available and people pleasing, like you don't have a life, you are just there because this is what this people will be. You build your entire existence around this person. See finish, we enter, it comes to a point they start drawing their leg away from the relationship because this person is too easy, the chase and the thrill is gone. And when it happens over and over again, the brain will switch, will get a new emotional trauma, which is emotional neglect again. Sorry, emotional neglect again. And you know what? The brain can now decide to create another wound of rejection and sensitivity now. I don't know if you understand. You see the way a rejection wound can stem from childhood neglect, and it can also stem from many other. I'm just A wound can stem from many other things. I'm just trying to make you see how complex wounds and emotional traumas are. It's not like they're subjected to this and this. It's just the play over and the complication and metamorphism of emotional traumas that give birth to wounds. Sometimes it's complex, sometimes it's a back and forth movement, sometimes it's one or more traumas coming together. So since I'm talking about rejection wound and sensitivity, I had to put that in place. That it's not like it's only suited to emotional and abuse that people have that rejection sensitivity. Somebody who has gone through childhood neglect too can have rejection sensitivity, you know, because now they've come with people pleasing on the table with a lot of people and they saw it didn't take them anywhere. And I'm telling you, the reason it didn't take them anywhere is because, psychological speaking, in the world, when you are looking at what is a better reality, that does not work, because the world will take you for granted. If you are people pleasing, they will step on you. You think when you people please, people will like you, you get friends around you, get that relationship you want, and get people. They just want to have friends. They can't be alone. They just have the need to feel accepted and everybody should like me, and it's not possible. If you it when once you are people pleasing, the opposite is the case. If you're in the office people pleasing, you be that person everybody want to dump the work on, and you see it doesn't earn you respect. And at the end of the day, you cannot people please to get genuine relationship from people. They will use you at the end of it. You can never use people pleasing your way into getting genuine relationship from people. They will just use you. And if you go and read the art of seduction, it drops your attractiveness because you can't people please your way. And when they find out, it gives birth to a new wound, and it's wound of rejection and sensitivity. And what do I say? Either they are aggressive when they see some, they feel being rejected again, or some of them just avoid relationship, intimacy, or anything they keep to themselves. Now you see. Now let's enter physical abuse. Yeah, I spoke about it. It could make them become very violent people too, because they're trying to protect themselves. Now let's get into the third. um I also I forgot to mention that somebody too that have gone through emotional abuse, and is having rejection and sensitivity. Another coping behavioral pattern they may elude is codependency. Codependency, and this means relying on another person for your for your happiness, relying on their partner or somebody else for how they for their happiness, basically. I'm going to look for the right word to explain this code, but I understand it in my head, but definition will really help people. So I'm going to get a nice word to like really explain what I'm saying and layer it on the screen for you. So codependency is very, very, very key. Coping behavioral pattern where you notice that this person have gone through rejection and is dealing with rejection sensitive um, um is dealing with the rejection wound, which is called rejection sensitivity. Now let's get into the third category of trauma and its resulting wounds and behavioral pattern: rejection. Rejection, you see, is a type of emotional neglect and emotional abuse. But now it's standing on its own because it is very, very special. It is very special for it to stand, because why number two is emotional abuse, then you have emotional neglect, yeah, umbrella to things, because there are different types of emotional abuse. Emotional abuse can come in the form of neglect. It can come like rejection. It can come like emotional blackmail. It can come like deceiving, manipulation. Many types of emotional abuse. You know, many types. That's why the play of the behaviors will really depend on how that the resulting child will be. But now number three is rejection in itself. We picked it out. It's rejection is an emotional trauma in its own. And what you see, and like I said, I was already picking it as the only type of emotional abuse in the second one, and I've gone through it. Sorry about that. For rejection, I've said it already, maybe during in a child's life. Now the parents or are very hard to please, so the child grew up thinking they are not good enough. They were never good enough in school for the parents. They were not good enough with the way they behave. They were always comparing them. They grow up with that rejection, like they are not always good enough. And what you see is low self-esteem. So as a parent, if your child is not good in school, use encouraging words rather than talking down on them. Oh wow, you can do better. I know you can do the. Be very careful, because if you may even be doing it gently, and you are talking to a 6-year-old, they already know. Oh, mommy is not pleased. Oh, mommy used to buy me gift. If I did it, she'd not do that. They are picking very easily where they feel they are not good enough, and they just pick it. I told you, as rejection. They just pick it as rejection. I've seen mothers, your child wants to hug you, they'll push the child away. You see parents that do not show emotions because they feel it's weakness, or that they will lose the authority in the eyes of their children. Some have that mindset, and they just reject when the child wants to show emotions. And these children go in school and see other mothers, other fathers, when they come to pick their children, the emotions and everything, they're like, is something wrong with me? And some parents, when you show preference in the home, because you see, these things, if we want to start talking about it, we will not leave this place. They are complex. You show preference with another child and you are doing it subtly. When they ask you, mommy, can I have that thing? Can I have your iPad, your phone? You say no. But when the other last one goes, you are quick to give, because somehow she looks like your wife, he looks like your husband or something, or you like the way he's soft spoken. Children will pick it that this is better than them. So as a parent, you need to be very intentional and very, 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 very careful. And what happens is that those children grow to have low self-esteem, which you see the way I'm telling you that even if I've numbered this thing, you see they are interrelated. Do you know that a people pleaser is an behavior of low self-esteem. Those try to grow people pleasing. You see the way they these wounds and trauma change into themselves. Such child grow up with people pleasing too. They'll grow up people pleasing, and that's low self-esteem because they just want to feel accepted. And they will also have fear of abandonment too. You see the way it's so complex. That's why it's called a wound. It's a play of complex traumas, emotions, and reasoning. Someone can go through this same thing and come out with his own complex way of coping, behavioral pattern of coping. It's just it's complex. So now when there another attitude you will see with somebody with rejection trauma that have gotten a low self-esteem, you have low self-esteem is a wound. And you know another behavioral pattern apart from people pleasing and is self-destructive habits. They just feel there's no way in hell that they deserve certain things. If they are getting close to they do something that they say imposter syndrome, they feel they don't deserve it, they will self-sabotage. if they are if they are finally winning in life as an adult on something, they'll just like something, a mindset to just come, no, you don't deserve that. And so they'll self-sabotage it immediately. It could be love, it could be career, it could be their business doing, they'll just self-sabotage immediately because what the brain knows, that trauma, that wound that have been registered is like, nah, how am I supposed to deserve this? Why is this happening? This has never been me. This has never been the narrative. Do you understand? So you see, in another, you see low self-esteem. It's still the same thing. Everybody, self-destructive habit stems from low self-esteem, looking low on oneself. You see, it's still a complex play of things. It's complex. This person has rejection wound, this person has low self-esteem, and this person has self-destructive habit. And as adults, people can also face rejection. Imagine maybe in going through school, this child was among intelligent children, and it's not nothing like intelligence, but that, but it's just that I see this in Nigerian schools a lot. Certain children learn things at different paces, and with some are visual learners, some are, but you just see teachers pick those set of children that are very easy to grasp what they are saying, and they focus on them. And you see the other sets, they don't try to carry them along. They are suffering. I'm giving instances that it's not even only childhood now. Such person can grow up with feeling not good enough, rejection. That look like rejection as because academic wise, more nah, I'm not. They don't hit the benchmark. That's what their brain registers. Okay, it brings low self esteem. Now, another area adults can see this, even in work fronts, that person that HR is always after and saying, don't you see the rest? You bring this company, blah, 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 because people have their self-esteem wrapped around what they do and all of that. They can feel so rejected. They'll try their best, but there's this toxic manager and everything. That's where they live. Where you want to see, do you want to go to and see another job again? So I'm just giving you places that in even the adult life, one can face rejection. Is it people even love relationship when people are in relationship at adult stage, and so a certain partner was cheating behind and finally they just walked out. Oh, I can't do this anymore. Like, what did I do? Am I not good enough? Then they check after the breakup 1 week later, and they see the other partner, the he or the she, has moved on with somebody new else, or they found out they were cheating or something. The next thing, they feel rejected, like they are not good enough. The feelings of not feeling good enough, that's rejection, start to sting. They'll start to check, self blame, and look at things. So I'm showing you all the ways that rejection wound can start. And what happened? They start to have low self-esteem and self-sabotage and destructive behavior when another person comes around. Instead of them to see the lying, manipulative idiot for who the person was, they start to internalize that is something probably not good about them. That's why the person has to leave, because they feel if they were perfect, nobody will leave in the first place. Then imagine if this person even had the rejection wound from childhood. Horrible. They start to do self-destructive habits. That's why you meet all these people and they are loving them. Oh, that, wow, this guy is so perfect. This lady is so perfect. It's what I want. And no matter how much you love them, they'll destroy you. They may love it from the beginning and be receptive, but fear creeps in when it scares them so much and they feel they just self-destruct, they destroy the relationship. So that's another case. If you see people being numb, those people saying they are being numb and they cannot show love, it's either they had childhood. When somebody is telling you, you see you want to form intimate relationship with them, relationship wise, and they sabotage it, they avoid it. There's avoidance, or they sabotage it. It could become in the form of avoidance. Another self-destructive habit could be that they are just over jealous and check, where were you? I called you at 4:45. If you picked at this thing, how come you were not here? It takes 20 minutes to drive to that place. It's another self-destructive habit. They want to be overbearing. Is because out of that fear of that rejection. Oh, or you see them say, you think you can find somebody better than me? Some people may verbalize their own. I mean, you think you can survive somebody? Let me tell you, there's nobody better than me. Those ones that their ego are reaching the sky. Wherever they feel triggered in that rejection, will say, you think there's somebody better than me? I'm telling you, if you leave, you'll never find anybody better than me. Oh, Benny, shut up. Do you see human behavior? How beautiful it is, and the way it's the same wound, different reaction, different self-destructive habits, different ways, different ways of destroying self. So all are reacting to what? Rejection. Rejection. Their rejection is being triggered. You know, you to even be normal in relationship, like, oh, they are coming to get a hug, like, I'm not just in the mood there, you know. Woo! Their brain will just be like, wow, she has started liking somebody else. You are not good enough. She, I told you are not good enough and you can never be good enough. She's going to break up in the next 2 days. She's just planning her words to say, that is because you didn't brush well. And do you know what happened next? What happens next? They start looking for you trigger something. It's either they withdraw from you, someone's coping mechanism. Another one start going up on you. Oh, you started seeing somebody saying you like, is something wrong with you? But I'm just trying to tell you, these are self-destructive habits. It will come in many, many, many ways. When people, like I'm telling, when somebody you're arguing with your friend, that particular friend that takes the when people are sharing opinions very high and turns into a bad argument, can even fight, and all of that. The person is definitely suffering from a rejection wound. Now we enter into loss and grief. And what do we emotional trauma? This is the loss of something. It could be loss of a human being, loss, and it could be losing the human being to death. It could be losing the human being in form of relationship, divorce, or breakups. It could be losing a job that they built their identity around, worked so hard for. It could be losing a business. Loss and grief is an emotional trauma, and the way people react to this can the resulting wound is difficulty trusting another company, difficulty trusting another human being to marry, difficulty trusting in relationship, difficulty trusting yourself that you can handle another business. Like, if this one failed, what's the difficulty? Trust issues. That's what we are talking about. Trust issues. When you see trust issues, so you can see that in the loss of a relationship where someone cheated and left, it will leave the person that was the good one with many wounds: low self-esteem, difficulty trusting people, rejection sensitivity. Are you seeing how complex emotions, traumas, and wounds can be? You see someone dealing with multiple wounds and traumas. Where do you want to start from? People are dealing with multiple wounds that they'll never understand. Yeah, where do you want to start the something from? So you see, that difficulty in trusting. What are the coping method? Fear of intimacy. Yeah, in relationship wise, they fear intimacy. If something becomes very intimate, it scares them. They may withdraw. Yeah, definitely. They can't be hostile because intimacy scares them. They will withdraw from you. Stop calling. And again, what's that? Does it sound like self-destructive behaviors? They will withdraw to avoid you because it scares them. That person is dealing with, have gone through loss of relationship, a loved one before, you know yeah, in the face of relationship, it can come that way. and trust issues. Next is bullying. People that have gone through bullying. We looked at types of emotional trauma bullying, online bullying, which is internet, cyber bullying. We have physical bullying. We have the physical bullying, they even beat the person. People face bullying in relationship. People face bullying in friends group. People face bullying in school fronts. People face bullying in the society. People face bullying all around. Different types of bullying. Different types of bullying. You could just pick things to bully people. Bully them because they are jealous, they are finer. Bully people because they are physically challenged. Bully people because they are smarter. Bullying is bullying. Bully people, just now what happen now is they become very anxious and scared, very very anxious and scared, of people, that low self-esteem, cowing down, and it can really affect, bring low self-esteem again, you see. And this kind of posture and behavioral pattern is already recipe for attracting unhealthy relationships. Unhealthy relationships. They can even form relationship with their bully. Do you know there are some men, guys I've seen, especially the ones that are having low self-esteem and rejection sensitivity, are very toxic. You know, would use bullying, will find their ladies they can bully, and that's who they want to form relationship with. And the lady that is being bullied just need to know that the Lord think you are worthy of a relationship today, will likely go with them, because they'll give them all the, oh, you are not good enough, that I'm choosing you should be happy about that. The guy in question has low self-esteem and rejection sensitivity, and he's masking it because he knows if you go and meet somebody that head is correct and her self-esteem is high, like, who the hell are you? He doesn't stand a chance, and she can walk out, it will trigger him. But he'll be very happy to, some guys use bullying in relationship to keep the person there. Yes, to keep the person there. And the person being bullied will stay there because they have low self-esteem, and that's an unhealthy relationship. Yeah, yeah. Now, the sixth is betrayal. You see, betrayal, you see, avoidant attachment style. You see, that's why I say some people would avoid. You see the way betrayal, when you bully somebody, you betray the person. When there's a loss of a relationship or something, you betray the person. When there's rejection, because the person trusted that you guard their emotions, you betrayed the person. You see how complex these wounds and traumas are, and how they are interrelated into each other. So betrayal as a wound is provides avoidant behavior. People avoid things, avoid relationship, avoid people, because they just feel they have that trust issues. You can't trust them. See? Another thing you see with them again is emotional dysregulation. Emotional dysregulation is when somebody does not have effective method to regulate their emotions. So you see, they banter with words, they want to fight, they do avoidance, they do passive aggression, just a childish way of showing that this person does not have an opposite of this is healthy emotional regulation. You know how to regulate your emotions. When you are dealing with negative emotions, you know how to regulate it. We'll get into that when we are talking about how to heal traumas and wounds. You need to come up with a coping healthy method to regulate your emotions when you've identified them from self-awareness. Okay, but these individuals don't have any emotional regulation at all, so they are avoidant, you know, and they don't tolerate when anything triggers that bully triggers that betrayal trauma. They will give it to you hot hot. They will give it to you hot. Okay, so now sexual trauma, we spoke about this. Is sexual abuse, it could be rape, it could be even people do sexual abuse. Oh, husband sexually abuse their wife. In relationship too, the boyfriend sexually abuse the girlfriend. Even people that are not in relationship, people went through sexual abuse from when they were children. People went through sexual abuse by the father sleeping with the child. And that's a betrayal. That's another form of betrayal again, they grow up, the resulting wound, always, there's no other thing to say it interchange or interlap with. The resulting wound from sexual trauma is shame and guilt. Shame and guilt, 100. And they have difficulty setting boundaries because, again, this is the play of low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, low self-esteem as a wound could be there. They don't have difficulty setting boundaries because their their brain is used to people that violation, people violating their boundaries. So what's the need in setting boundaries? You know, and I also believe people that have gone through emotional abuse too. I'm sorry, childhood neglect or childhood, yes, childhood neglect and abandonment or childhood emotional abuse would have difficulty setting boundaries. So that's people pleasing too. Difficulty setting boundaries, people pleasing is inside, and the other ways you don't set boundaries, you can't protect yourself, you can't stand up to yourself, you can't say no, always saying yes to, that's people pleasing. But they can't even protect themselves. They will know the right thing to do, they can't even walk out of certain places and everything because there's shame and guilt. They don't feel they are valuable enough. That's like low self-esteem. So then we have witnessing trauma, which I spoke about. Witnessing trauma is you when somebody witness is the trauma did not happen to them, but they witness it happening to somebody, either real life or they watched the video or it was told to them verbally in such a way, in such graphic ways. People could get trauma from that. They could get trauma from that. And that's why you need to be very careful the kind of things we listen to. And you see you start having self-sabotaging behaviors. Yeah, self-sabotaging behaviors can come in, like, yeah, this thing happened to this person. You just jump into conclusion and say, no, this is not this thing to do. They'll self-isolate and all of that stuff. Those are like the behavioral patterns to this thing. Oh, so I just went over, I just hope we learned a lot. You see, it can be complex, but we just spoke about how emotional traumas form, which is the foundation. And when emotional trauma form, they don't always stay that way. They metamorphose into something worse, which are wounds. In the next videos, we are going to be talking about types of wounds. There's something called, which are not here, mother wound, father wound, society wound. This society wound one, I named it myself because they are not here, but we'll talk about it. Like, imagine a lady that is a single mom has have single mothers in the society. There's what the society their wounds, they go with an identity crisis and all those things. Mother wound, father wound, boys with father wound, boys with mother wound, women with father wound, mother wound. What do they look like? How do you date these people? How do you identify them? Why do you keep attracting them? Because I've noticed it's like the guys with father wounds used to attract girls with father wounds. I don't know how they used to do it. There's a way that they used to call each other. So we're going to be looking into those other special kinds of wounds. I need to pick it because you will see the play of all these things. A mother wound in again now could be mother's neglect, could be also an emotionally abusive mother, could be a rejection and this thing. When it's also happened in the life of a boy child, what does it look like when they go into adulthood? So we need to pick all those wounds. After we finish picking those wounds, we'll now start entering into how do you heal emotional wounds and trauma? How do you really do it? How do we do it? We'll see the tools needed to heal those things, everything and the steps and all of that needed. Yeah, to heal all of that. Yeah. So this is all for today's video. I hope you guys loved it and you learned something. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button below so that I know you like this video, so it can reach more people. Please engage with this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel because you don't want to miss any video. We'll be talking about father and mother wounds and all other wounds that were not here because they are special topic. they can do textbook on their own. So we didn't put them here. So we're going to be talking about them, what they look like, what happens to the individual, how they react, the coping mechanism, and all of that. So if that sounds like what you want to know, please hit the subscribe button on this channel, like the video, and comment below. I'll be so happy to reply to all of your comments, and keep a date next week. See you same time next week. We upload once a week. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and I'll see you. Bye.